So yesterday, Lumpur gave a reflection about how we practice with the Buddha's teachings, and in his reflection, he was talking about how Lumpur Cha would say, you practice not just when you're feeling up to it, or you're in the right mood for it, or when you're feeling pleasant. It's just whatever, if you're tired and drowsy, and you can still put in an effort to maintain mindfulness. If you're agitated and worried, want to just have a distraction to move through that experience. Instead, you don't put distractions in place. You try to really work with your own sense of bringing the mind to peace and calm. So it's not the Buddha's teachings are not just to be practiced when things are right for you. You can sometimes hear a voice, I'm not in the mood for this. But the defilements don't really care about your mood. The hindrances we have, the desire overtakes us, or feeling very aversive and we want to say or do something impulsive. That's the time for really putting forth effort. Trying to realize that we want to try to be strong in these situations and not be pushed around by our own impulses and unwholesome states of mind. And I think that's one of the most important things we can learn in following the Buddha's teachings, because for the most part, there is a tendency to judge our own practice in the wrong way, to see that what we're doing isn't working, or isn't the right time, or we want to be thinking, I'm not good at this, and I have to be better, and then we're creating a whole self around what we're doing. And it's a very delicate matter, the perception of one's own practice, and what's right to practice, what's right to do, often people are, what technique should I use, and how should I do this, and we just get caught up so easily in the hindrances and overwhelmed by them. But when we have an attitude of consistently learning, then there's no really bad time to practice, and there's really not a bad meditation. So sometimes you'll hear from people, that was a terrible meditation I had. It wasn't even worth sitting. I didn't get anything out of it. And therein hangs the tale. I didn't get anything out of it, which is just based on desire. I had to get something. Often that something is pleasantness. I want to feel peace. I want to feel happy. I want to not experience dukkha. And if I'm experiencing dukkha, then things are going poorly. And it's quite ironic, because it can be the exact opposite. This is often what practice is teaching us, that the experience of dukkha does not mean that we're failing. It means that we're noticing. So you take, for example, somebody who comes out of a meditation sit, and they say, oh, wow, it's just, that was the most incredible meditation. I was just in the third jhana, and it was just amazing. I was just like, I've never even experienced anything in my whole life like that. It's the most inspiring experience. I don't even know how it happened. I wasn't even prepared for it, and there I was. And it was amazing. And then, what were you doing to kind of have that happen? I don't know, it just kind of happened. And then that person thinks, I guess I have these skills, or I guess I have this really good potential. And then they might spend a lot of their time, as Lumpur was saying, is trying to create this experience they had, this peak experience. And another person comes out of meditation, and they said, it was the worst meditation of my life. Just the bell rang, and I was just thinking the entire time. And then the bell rang again, and I was just this story about my pajamas that my mom bought me when I was 12. And then I got kind of sad, and I asked her to return them because I didn't like them. And then my dog died, and then the bell rang. And then you hear another person who says, my meditation was really, really, really difficult, and it's definitely a bad meditation. I was just sitting there really putting forth a lot of effort, and a thought would come to me, and I'd see it, and I'd just come right back, and this just kept happening over and over and over again. I mean, it must have been hundreds of times. I just found myself thinking and coming back and trying to put so much effort in. There's just no peace. And that person might think, oh yeah, it's just failure. But of those three people, I mean, really, who had a successful meditation? The person who just randomly slipped into an extremely peaceful state and had no understanding of why, or another person who was lost in their thought worlds, wandering on and having no idea if they're even sitting, from the bell starting and the bell ringing, or the other person who struggled for an hour and just kept coming back to their experience of the body over and over and over again. And we might have that kind of meditation and think that we're failing, but it's actually that meditator that is putting forth effort and keeps coming back and experiences some thinking and then just keeps bringing the mind back to the present moment. That's the successful meditation. Neither of the people who have any idea how they got to their other meditations are lost in just thought worlds for an hour, or experiencing some sort of absolute peak meditation. There's not much skill in that. So if we kind of examine our practice in these different ways, we might be judging our own sense of skill or what it is we're learning and not really perceiving it in the correct way. The practice of meditation is difficult. When the Buddha teaches us, he says that his teachings are the most difficult thing to do in the world. This is the hardest thing one can actually do. And yet it has the greatest results. It has the highest results of anything else a human being can do. So when we really embrace that and we understand that, and we keep putting forth effort, then we can start to learn that perhaps the way that we're perceiving our own practice, or what it is that brings us to think that we're successful or a failure, these are sometimes not correct. And it's helpful just to keep in mind that sense of like, how can I keep up a continuity of practice all the time? No matter what my feelings are about it, whatever my perceptions are about it, just how can I keep focusing on this learning about the Dhamma, learning about the Buddha's teachings, bringing this up over and over in our minds. In the reflection around the appropriateness for how often we should bring death to our mind, it's interesting that the Buddha, as many of you have heard, says that through the monks talking to him about this, that it's as often as it takes to chew and swallow a morsel of food, or even more often an in-breath or an out-breath. That's how often one should keep in mind that we're going to die. But what is interesting about that sutta is what one should keep in mind is, I have this much time left to practice the Dhamma. There's just this in-breath and out-breath. So that kind of continuity and that movement towards keeping our engagement with the Dhamma that frequent, that's what will cause us to have the greatest success in practice. And that will cause us to have the greatest opportunity to awaken. And it's not just about judging ourselves or judging whether we're doing something right or wrong. So I offer that for some reflections this morning.